Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really excited to have you with us today because we are getting into something that is, frankly, going to mess with your head a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it completely flips the script.
It really does. I mean, if you are building anything right now, like a startup, a piece of art, whatever, you probably believe that a great product just kind of sells itself.
Right, the whole build it and they will come thing.
Exactly. But today, we are unpacking this incredible manifesto-style blog post from Thursday, April 30th, 2026. It's by Paramendra Kumar Bhagat, and it's called Netizen: Marketing is Misunderstood.
And misunderstood is putting it lightly.
Yeah. The core premise here is so bold. The author is basically saying that the absolute best founders out there, the geniuses building the most amazing tools, are actually the ones most likely to completely misunderstand how their products survive out in the wild.
Because they get blinded by their own competence.
Yeah.
You write this flawless code or you design this beautiful piece of hardware and you just assume that cause and effect will take over.
Right, like, it's good, so people will buy it.
Exactly. But the real world is not a controlled laboratory. It is this chaotic, irrational ecosystem. And the author argues that believing a super good product sells itself is basically a delusion.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the text goes right after the two biggest idols of this whole product-first mentality. I mean, it takes a sledgehammer to them.
He really doesn't hold back.
No, it doesn't. So let's start with Apple. Everyone thinks Steve Jobs won because he was a product genius. But this text claims Jobs wasn't really a product guy at all. He was, first and foremost, a marketer.
Yeah, the author draws this really sharp contrast between Jobs and Steve Wozniak, because Wozniak was the actual engineer, right? He soldered the circuits, he built the physical machine.
The ultimate product guy.
Exactly. But Wozniak lacked vision. The text points out that he built this absolute technological marvel. And what was his first instinct?
He went to his boss.
Right. He takes it to his boss at Hewlett-Packard, basically asking, hey, do you guys want this? He was just looking for permission from a legacy company.
You just saw a computer. He didn't see a revolution.
He saw a circuit board.
Hmm.
And the text notes that Jobs was utterly furious about that HP meeting.
I bet. I mean, if a startup is a car, it's like Wozniak built this perfect engine, but he thought, that was enough. Jobs realized you need the chassis, you need the headlights, and you need a map.
That's a great way to put it.
But I have to push back a little here. Calling Jobs just a marketer, isn't that sort of underselling his obsession with design? Like, we know he obsessed over the curve of the glass and the fonts. That feels like a product obsession, not a marketing campaign.
Well, what's fascinating here is how the author redefines design. In this framework, design is marketing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not just aesthetics. The curves of the glass, the way the box feels when you slide it open, that is Jobs communicating the value of the device directly to your subconscious.
So the product itself is the campaign.
Exactly. Wozniak made the machine work, but Jobs made it mean something.
Making it work versus making it mean something? Man, that is a huge distinction.
It changes everything about how you view Apple.
It does. Which, okay, that brings us to the second idol this document deconstructs, Elon Musk. And the text drops this massive, sweeping claim. It just says, Mars has been marketing.
Just a ruthless takedown of the whole SpaceX narrative.
Right, because the author argues that the greatest marketing campaign of the decade was Musk talking up Mars just to get media attention.
Because the reality is he's actually focused on low Earth orbit. The text literally says he's going to Leo because that is where the money is.
Wait, let's pause there. If he's hyping Mars to get attention, but then building telecom satellites in low Earth orbit for profit, isn't that just lying? I mean, how is that a sustainable strategy and not just a giant bait and switch?
Well, you have to look at the institutional gravity it creates. Think about the engineering talent required to build SpaceX. You are trying to poach the top 1% of aerospace engineers from places like Boeing or Lockheed Martin.
Right, they already have great jobs.
Exactly. You can't just go to them and say, hey, come work 80-hour weeks so we can launch highly profitable telecom satellites. That doesn't inspire anybody.
Ah, I see.
But if you say, we are going to make humanity a multiplanetary species and save human consciousness, that creates this insane reality distortion field.
It pulls people in.
It generates gravity. You get the talent, you get the retail investors, you get the media oxygen, and all of that funds the boring, highly profitable satellite business.
That is wild. He's using a sci-fi narrative to subsidize actual infrastructure. And the text takes this even further with the whole Twitter, well, X situation. Musk bought a platform that was hemorrhaging money for $44 billion.
And the author says he did it because whoever controls the global communication network controls reality.
He needs the world's biggest megaphone,
yeah.
especially if he's pivoting it into an AI company, which the text points out. It all proves how vital marketing is to him.
Which sets up this really beautiful core concept in the text. The author states that product and marketing are like electricity and magnetism. They go together.
Electromagnetism.
Yeah.
You literally cannot have an electrical current moving through a wire without it generating a magnetic field.
Right.
And if you move a magnet, you create an electrical current. They aren't two different things. They're just two expressions of the exact same force.
And if you accept that, it forces you to completely redefine what marketing actually is. Because right now, society has it totally backward. We treat marketing like it's a megaphone.
Yeah, we treat it like spam. The text calls this out as the biggest myth in marketing. We think marketing is broadcasting. It's the loud guy in the room. It's sliding into someone's DMs. It's those annoying pre-roll ads.
Flashy cars on YouTube, all of that.
Exactly. But the author says the truth is the exact opposite. True marketing is listening.
Which sounds so simple, but is incredibly deep.
Well, let's break that down, because if marketing is just listening, how do you actually do that? The text lays out this whole roadmap to valuation, right? It says listening better than anyone else means you beat everyone else, which gives you your product roadmap, and that leads to huge VC funding.
Yep, that's the causal chain.
But wait, if I'm a founder and I just listen to people, aren't I just going to build a faster horse instead of the Model T? How do you balance purely listening with actually being innovative?
That's where people get tripped up. The listening the author's talking about isn't taking dictation. It's not a focus group where you just ask people what features they want.
Okay, so what is it?
Think of it like submarine sonar. You aren't asking the ocean where it wants you to go. You send out a ping, and you listen intensely to how the environment bounces that sound back to you.
Oh, wow.
You're mapping the invisible friction. You're finding the jagged edges of the market before you ever build the submarine.
So you're listening for structural friction, not literal requests.
Precisely. Jobs wasn't listening to people ask for a physical keyboard on an iPod. He was listening to the unarticulated frustration people had with clunky, fragmented digital experiences.
And that kind of listening gives you the roadmap.
It's an unfair advantage. You're solving problems the market hasn't even realized it has yet. And the text even says that what we call intuition is really just this deep subconscious market research.
Right, I loved that part. We mythologize these founders as having this magical gut feeling, but the text says intuition is just years of relentless observation. If you don't do the marketing, your intuition is useless. You won't know what to build.
Which naturally leads to the author's absolute teardown of everyone's favorite Silicon Valley buzzword.
Oh yeah, product market fit. He hates it.
He destroys it.
Yeah.
And he points out that the phrase was coined decades ago by a product guy, basically trying to elevate the product's importance.
It's a totally defensive phrase, and he has this great philosophical analogy. He asks, if a product doesn't have a market, is it even a product? It's like the tree falling in the forest. If no one is around, the tree didn't fall. The product, quote, is not it.
Because product market fit implies this really static relationship.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if you think about that old mindset, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You meticulously cut out your little cardboard product piece, you walk over to a static game board, and you just pop it into place.
But the author says the reality is nothing like a jigsaw puzzle. He calls the market the ultimate kaleidoscope.
I love that imagery.
It's perfect, right? Because think about a kaleidoscope. You turn the dial even a fraction of an inch, and all the mirrors shift, the light refracts, and the whole pattern changes instantly.
So if you spend 2 years building your static puzzle piece in a basement,
by the time you bring it to the market, the pattern has already morphed into something totally unrecognizable.
it doesn't fit anymore.
Exactly. And the author makes this really poetic, almost forceful assertion. He writes, "The market is the goddess. You are a mere entrepreneur.
You have to have total reverence for it.
You can't force a kaleidoscope to hold still for you."
He actually frames it as a grammar lesson, which I thought was brilliant. He says your product is just a noun. It just sits there. But the market is a verb. It's constantly moving. The noun is nothing without the verb.
He even suggests we should stop saying market and only say marketing to remind ourselves that it's an active, ongoing state.
So if the jigsaw puzzle is dead and we are dealing with this high-speed kaleidoscope, how does a startup actually survive?
Well, the author introduces a total replacement for product market fit. He calls it marketing escape velocity.
Like a rocket trying to break the Earth's gravity. What does that actually achieve, though, in business terms?
It achieves the one thing that actually matters: propulsion, which in a startup means accelerating revenues.
Right. And when those revenues spike, the dynamic completely flips. You stop chasing investors and the investors start chasing you.
Because investors, and the author's pretty cynical about this, he points out that investors don't really understand you or your deeply held philosophy.
Yeah, he takes a funny little jab there, saying the founder thinks he is a genius.
Right. And the VCs definitely don't understand the technical weeds of your product. All they understand is the upward graph.
The graph is the velocity.
Exactly. They underwrite the propulsion, not the noun.
But wait, a rocket only has so much fuel? To hit that billion-dollar unicorn status, the text says you have to use marketing to constantly unearth what he calls adjacent spaces.
This is where that sonar ping comes back in. As the kaleidoscope shifts, new friction points open up just to the left or right of your core product. You have to use your velocity to expand into those spaces.
And in a super meta move, the author actually plugs his own book right here in the text.
I notice that.
Yeah, it's called Marketing Escape Velocity, The Path to Unicorn Status and Beyond. He's actively using his own manifesto to generate propulsion for his book.
He is practicing what he preaches in real time.
Mm-hmm.
But he pushes it even further because in the impending age of abundance that he talks about, hitting $1 billion isn't even the end game anymore.
Right. The ultimate goal he mentions is moving from a unicorn to what he calls a solara, a trillion-dollar sun.
Which is just a massive leap in scale.
How do you even conceptualize that, going from $1 billion to $1 trillion?
You need what he calls a grand Solara vision. And this is not just a business plan. It's a 21st century NASA or SpaceX level mission to the moon.
And he emphasizes that you can't just stumble into this. He criticizes the Columbus way.
Right, the idea of just sailing blindly and hoping you bump into a new continent.
He says that worked 500 years ago, but he adds, even then it did not work. I mean, you can't just sail for an hour and be like, hey, do we turn left here? You can't accidentally reinvent an entire global industry.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the Grand Solara vision has to be your very starting point. It's day zero intentionality. You can't build a little app, hit $1 billion, and then decide to bolt on $1 trillion vision later.
It has to be in the company's DNA from the start. And to really understand why a grand solar vision is so necessary, we have to look at the world this blog post was published in. We have to look at Thursday, April 30, 2026.
The environment surrounding the text is basically the ultimate proof of the kaleidoscope market.
It's wild. The sidebar content on his website alone is a trip. Let me just fire off some of these headlines from the source to put you, the listener, right in that 2026 reality.
Go for it.
Okay, so Meta is deploying AI agents across all their platforms. Emergency first responders are complaining that Waymo robotaxis are actually getting worse and blocking them. IBM has this AI named Bob using multi-model routing for secure coding. And Sony has a table tennis robot that is literally beating elite human players using unorthodox physical moves.
It's just massive simultaneous disruption everywhere.
And let's quickly explain that IBM Bob thing. Multi-model routing basically means the AI isn't just one brain. It's dynamically routing tasks to different specialized AI models depending on what's needed. It's AI managing other AI.
While a robot is outsmarting humans in physical space at ping pong.
Right. And then there's a headline from Science Daily right next to all this. AI swarms could hijack democracy without anyone noticing.
And that right there is exactly why you need a grand solar vision to cut through the noise. If your company doesn't have the gravitational pull of a sun, you are just going to get ripped apart by all these AI swarms and autonomous systems.
The noise is deafening. And it's not just tech. The economic and political climate in these sidebars is incredibly tense.
Very charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a quick note to you listening, we are not taking sides here or endorsing any of these political views. We are just impartially reporting the environment the author is writing in.
Right, we're just looking at the sonar pings he was receiving.
Exactly. So in the news snippets, you've got Donald Trump trying to force Jerome Powell out of the Federal Reserve. You've got the trial of Sam Bankman-Fried being deemed a waste of time. And the author is reading books titled AOC 2028, The Future of American Progressivism alongside Trump's Default. The Mist of Empire.
He's using these highly polarized political shifts as data points. The traditional institutions are fracturing.
And the crypto news mirrors this perfectly. The text shows Bitcoin at $75,000. Ethereum whales are waking up and moving millions. Institutional DeFi is taking over.
And DeFi, just as a reminder, is decentralized finance replacing traditional banks with automated software.
And this ties right back into his themes. He literally has a book in his bibliography called Velocity Money: Crypto, Karma, and the End of Traditional Economics. He's saying the whole financial jigsaw puzzle is gone.
Which brings us to the bibliography itself, which might be the most mind-blowing part of this whole deep dive.
The sheer volume of what this guy is producing is insane.
He is a polymath.
Just listen to some of these titles. Precigenetics, which is about using photons and AI to cure cancer. He's got stuff on liquid computing. He has this whole economic and spiritual blueprint called Kalkiism.
A framework for a post-scarcity society.
Yeah, and then he also writes novels. The Country of Geniuses, A Race Through AI Adolescence, and The Great Subcontinent Uprising.
It's incredible. The author isn't just writing about the kaleidoscope. His own brain is the kaleidoscope.
He really is. He's applying marketing escape velocity to his own ideas. He's throwing out biotech, fiction, economics, spirituality, just sending out all these sonar pings to see what finds an adjacent space.
He's trying to build his own Solara.
He absolutely is. So let's bring all this together. What are the core takeaways from this 2026 manifesto?
Well, first, marketing is not a megaphone. It is an ear. It is structural listening. Second, the static jigsaw puzzle is dead. The market is a dynamic goddess. It's a verb, not a noun.
And finally, you cannot accidentally stumble into massive success anymore. You have to replace the old product market fit with marketing escape velocity, and you need the intentionality of a grand Solara vision from day zero.
The Columbus way is over.
It is over. So what does this all mean for you?
That's the real question.
Because we spend so much of our lives perfecting our own little products, right? We agonize over our resumes, our portfolios, our side projects. We sit in our rooms polishing the static noun, just waiting for it to sell itself.
We wait for someone to walk by and say, wow, that's a great puzzle piece.
Exactly. But if this text is right, if the market is actually a living, hyperfast kaleidoscope, are you treating your own career like a static jigsaw puzzle?
You can't just build it and hope they come.
No, you can't. So as you go back to your desk or your studio or whatever you're building today, I want to leave you with this to ponder. In your own life, are you acting like Steve Wozniak, clutching a perfectly soldered circuit board and hoping the boss says yes? Or are you finally ready to listen to the friction, embrace the kaleidoscope, and build your own grand Solara vision?